Hi everybody, I'm speaking to you from Malaysia and had the unexpected pleasure today of having an interview with Roshan. And after the interview, I decided to turn the tables on him and interview him because his background and his passions are so interesting, and I would like to share them with you. So would you begin by telling us, you've been telling me about your career at GE and also about your soccer coach. So start any place you like.
Well, I think not many people know about Leaderonomics. Leaderonomics is an entity that me and a lady called Hui Ming started a number of years ago. And one of the things that triggered the whole setup was I was working in GE running operating businesses. I was in finance, and I had an incident where I really got tired, or I fainted during a customer visit. I was in China and visiting a customer. I was so tired, working like really crazy. I just fainted when there was a hot bowl, so I fainted. And then on the flight back, I started thinking and saying, do I really want this life of being this? It's great and it seems very fun, and one day maybe I'll be the CEO of GE. But I started, maybe I should take a break. So I decided to take a sabbatical, and GE allowed me to work in their Leadership Development Center, Crotonville, for a couple of years as a sabbatical. And at that time, I started doing something interesting. I started actually talking to leaders and understanding where the roots of leadership started from. And almost all leaders, it happened early in their childhood, where, in their teenage years, a lot of the formative leadership experience happened then. So I said, let's do an experiment. Let me take a kid who I would never hire him in, and see whether we can change them into leaders. And true enough, after 2-3 years of doing this with different kids, we started to change them. I mean, they became very much leaders like many of the other GE leaders would be. And so I said, hey, let's take this experiment further. Let's run camps for kids and see if, and really it's for the poor poor rural kids. Bring them in, get the GE, at that time got some of our GE leaders to volunteer in these camps, and see if after 5-6 years we've made a difference. And so after about 5-6 years, I actually went and attended a wedding of one of the girls that was part of our camp.
Oh, wonderful.
And when I went to her wedding, I found something very interesting. It's not about her she ended up working in GE for a little bit, but it's not about her. It was about her relatives and about her brother, her sister, and they were all proud. My sister works for this big multinational, and this is in a place where there's no electricity. I mean, this is in a small village. And when I saw the impact she had, we say, hey, here's a cycle about to be changed because I've created a new role model. Because now that they've got a role model for sister who went to university, who now works in a suddenly there's a new aspiration that's created in this village. I say, if you can do this multiple times, I can actually transform. I can see how a community gets transformed. I can also see how we can transform nations. Where if you do this multiple times, we start to change the nation. And you don't have to march in the streets. You don't have to change things. You just have to change what a person, changing a young person's, their value system, their belief system, and their integrity. And if you can do that and show them a new role model, over time you start to create and because many of these guys want to be leaders, they will become leaders. And when they become leaders, they bring a whole new set of values into the society, and society gets changed. So I said, hey, let's do this. And so we started doing more and more camps. And then I said to myself, I don't want to be an NGO. I just don't want to go around begging for money to fund a lot of these things. I mean, a lot of it was our money. Being put there. And so a lot of the things that we teach the kids, experiential learning, when the kids come to our camps, they don't come and they just attend and listen to someone. What we do is we ask a Microsoft or a Google or a Star or whatever and say, hey, give them a project on Monday. On Friday, come back and ask them to pitch out that project. So they immediately get they get excited because one is they're doing something real. The other thing is they get scared because, oh boy, I have to pitch out to somebody real. But it enables them to overcome their fears, it enables them to grow, it enables them to do something real, and they're actually learning while doing, which is probably the best way to learn. Absolutely. And that same model was something that we could do in companies. So many companies came to us and said, hey, the things that you do with the kids, can you do it for our adults? And we say, sure, but we're going to charge you a ton for it. And we take that money and we fund a lot of our community initiatives. And things just snowballed, and we found NGOs. They needed leadership development. So we started an academy for NGOs where we give them free leadership development. And then we say, hey, the biggest problem in NGOs is there are a lot of people who want to volunteer, which is great leadership development for these people. But there are a lot of NGOs who need volunteers, but they're not connected. So we set up a portal called Do Good Volunteer that enables NGOs to connect with volunteers. And one thing led to another. And as I look back, I remember I was talking about my coach. My first coach was a guy called Mokhtar Dari, my soccer coach. And he, just before he died, he actually got a sickness towards the late part of him coaching our team. and then he died about 8-9 months later. But before he died, he pulled me out and asked me a very interesting question because he saw me very frustrated. Because like, he kept pushing me, he kept asking me to run more, do more. Other people get 20 push-ups, I'll be 30 push-ups or 40 push-ups. So he kept pushing me. So I was a very frustrated young man, and he said, "Hey, why are you so angry?" And I said, "Because you don't like me." He said, "No, let me." And then he said, he didn't say anything. He said, "Let me ask you a question." And he says, "Do you think I'm talented?" And then this is Malaysia's best football player. So I'm like, kind of stupid. I mean, I was thinking in my mind, what are you asking me? But basically, he said, do you think I'm talented? I said, "Of course you are talented. You know, the most talented football player ever in Malaysia." And he said, "No, I'm not talented. Those other guys are much more talented than me. But you know why I'm the best? Because I practiced the hardest. Because I pushed myself the hardest. Because I went and really pushed myself out of my comfort zone every day. And because of that, I'm the best. Not because of talent." And he says, "Talent is nothing. Talent is meaningless. It's all about pushing yourself." And I've hung on to that, because I've hung on to say that actually if we can inspire kids to say that, because many kids, they think that the easy way is to cop out. I'm born in Malaysia, third world country. Oh, I'm a hostage. Many people are taken hostage by nobody has a gun on their head, but they're taken hostage by circumstances, their parents, their
beliefs.
And their beliefs. And if we can tell them, no, it's nothing. There's no such thing as talent. It's yourself. It's what you do. It's how you push yourself. It's how you learn. It's how you grow. You empower them to make a difference, to create new societies. And so that's essentially what we do. And I'm excited because every day we live to, you come to work and like, I'm going to help kids. I'm going to figure out how we can transform this country by transforming one person. And if we can embed love in it, I mean, if you see our vision is building communities of love, because that the opposite is what's happening, communities of hate, of distance, of separation. But it's really building, communities are marked by love, by care for each other, that's what communities are. And if you can embed that as part of the, and we talk about it in companies where there's friendship, where there's love, they tend to have less politics. They tend to have a lot more openness. And because you're my friend, I enjoy coming to work. Work is not a drag because I want to be near my best friend. At the same time, it enables me to want to help you, versus I'm going to blame you when things go wrong and so on. So it's an important, at least that's what we feel. If we build those communities, we actually then transform nations. So we're very focused on developing countries, not developed countries at this point in time, but really developing countries. How do we change them one leader at a time? So if I can grow one leader, I can change one community, and over the period of time, many communities can change a nation. So that's really what we stand for.
I'm sold. And where would you like to see this 3 years, 5 years, 10 years?
Well, 5 years ago, me and my co-founder, we said we're giving ourselves 15 years to transform Malaysia. So 5 years is going through. In fact, next week we have a time where we look back. We're so far away from it. I mean, I get frustrated because I want this to reach more people, touch more people, because that's the game, right? The more you reach, but not just reach in a way that I touch and go. It's really, I want to reach you, but I also want to have the relationship with you, because 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I want you to be the influence point, and I want to be the person that and gives you the tools and the processes and the ability to influence. So I want to continue that relationship. So I get very frustrated. We need to touch more. But we need to, after we touch them, we need to continue that relationship to enable them to grow. So I said, so 5 years is gone. We're about 5 years old now. I've got 10 more years. And ask me again in 10 years, how close we are to transforming this country. And then now we've just started in Thailand, a little group in Thailand. And we want to start in Indonesia and Philippines and a few other countries. And we say, really, it's about one person. It's like that, that fish thing,
point,
where you throw the starfish, one by one. It's like if you can do one, and then you reach a certain threshold, where then you start to see change. And we've seen that a little bit. I mean, I think in Malaysia, people know who we are, what we do, and they like. I mean, they sort of want to partner us. They want to be with us and do this, because it's no political agenda, nothing. It's really about helping to change a nation through building proper leaders, because leadership is everything. Everywhere you go, best companies, the best villages, best countries are marked by leaders of integrity, leaders of love, the leaders that care, and leaders that want to, as you said before, it's leaders of service, and not leaders who have ego. I think you said that earlier on.
I did, and Malaysia is very lucky to have you.
Well, we'll see. 10 more years to go.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you. All right.